What is up? I'm so excited to talk to you about this topic today. I actually just did a 5-minute meditation to ground my energy because what we are talking about is the single best thing I shouldn't say the single thing, but one of the best things you could possibly do heading into pregnancy, during your pregnancy, and postpartum in general to be better prepared for motherhood mentally, physically, emotionally is regulating your nervous system. I mean, all day long, I will preach that because I'm currently 3 months postpartum, and it has been like one of the greatest thing. I'm like, holy shit, I'm so grateful you did that work prior to having a child. And that doesn't mean that you can't do it now. If you have a child, it's never too late. I'm just saying from my own personal experience, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful that I've been working so many years on regulating my nervous system because it has served me more than I could ever even imagine in postpartum. And that doesn't mean it's just like, oh, I regulated my nervous system, so now I'm good. No, it's a continuous practice. But obviously you have less time to do things when you are a mother. So I'm glad that I took like a lot of time prior to having baby Earthside to really regulate my nervous system out, because I mean, it is so freaking helpful in literally every sense of the word. Like when you become a mom, whether you are maybe hoping to get pregnant, whether you're pregnant right now, whether you're newly postpartum, like whatever it is, maybe you're going to be having your second child. I don't know anything about that. I only have one. But when you become a mom, like you are handling, and just a parent in general, you're handling and holding more than you ever have in your entire life, right? Like point blank, whether it's, again, you're having a second or a third, or it's your first, like you're holding more than you ever have in your entire life. Someone else's life or lives, if you have twins, God bless, are now more of a priority than yours, right? Like that's just is what it is. And you literally have to support them with every single thing that they need, right? Like they can't do anything. So you not only have to take care of yourself, but you have to take care of another human, as well as eventually going back to work, running your business, taking care of, yourself, your relationships, like all the things that just life has. So your capacity to hold more and to handle more expands, right? It just has to. And the more that you can be regulated during that, the easier, not that it's easy, the more simple it's going to be, but also, yeah, the easier that it's going to be. And when the baby, aside from you having to literally support the baby with all their needs, their nervous system is not regulated. Obviously, they're a baby. Their nervous system is dysregulated. They are looking for you to respond to their needs and to stay as regulated as possible so that you could support them in regulation. And this is obviously helpful when they're babies and infants, but this is also helpful when they're toddlers and their nervous system is still not regulated and they're having, big emotions, and you are the one that has to be present and regulated and not have a big emotion back to them, which I have not dealt with that yet. So I don't know what that's like. I'll keep you posted. But we are the ones that have to stay regulated. We are the ones that are the adults. We're the ones that have a regulated nerve. Well, we have the ability to have a regulated nervous system. They don't have the ability to have a regulated nervous system yet. We do have that ability. And it's our choice to either regulate it or to stay dysregulated. And if you have a dysregulated nervous system, some things you could be noticing popping up is like you're feeling like you're in fight or flight, right? Like you're overwhelmed. You're like, you can't, like, it feels like you can't handle everything. If something happens, it like you fly off the handle, you get super angry over little things, you get super overwhelmed very easily. Again, and then you could also be experiencing like menstrual cycle problems, fertility problems, all of that. But I mean, like in the immediate sense, it just feels like you're ready to like burst at any moment, or like one more thing added to your plate, you're going to combust. Or if something is going on, like if the baby is screaming, crying, or if something happens, something breaks, you're like, oh my God. And like you flip out, like you can't handle it, and you don't know how to regulate your emotions, then your nervous system is dysregulated, right? We have to work on regulating that, not only for your own mental and physical and emotional well-being during motherhood and pregnancy, but for the babies, right? Your nervous systems are connected postpartum. They were literally inside of you for 9+ months. Like their nervous system's connected to you, which is why skin to skin is so important too, because you really help regulate them. And when they're crying and stuff, getting them on your skin is like one of the easiest ways to help, regulate their nervous system. But the more regulated you are during pregnancy and during postpartum, But really, I believe the more regulated you are during pregnancy, it does transfer to the regulation of your baby postpartum. I'm not talking about science with this stuff. I'm just talking about my personal experience, what I really truly believe. And also the more that it's going to support you in staying regulated when you are on the sleep deprived you've ever been in your life. Like you have never had this small amount of sleep in your life. When the baby is crying in the car and you can't do anything about it, when they're overtired and they just are freaking out and flipping out, but they won't go to sleep and they're crying and they're thrashing their body all around. Like when you are, I don't know, there's so many different examples. When you and your partner are disagreeing on how to parent them, maybe when they get sick for the first time, like all of these things are happening. And when they're screaming after the bath and you're just trying to get them dressed, but they're flipping out, like all these things have happened to me. Okay. Obviously, hence the examples. And it's very easy for you to be like, oh my God, oh my God, they're crying. Let me get them dressed quicker. And then you're like freaking out, or they're overtired and they're not going to sleep. And you're like, oh my God, let's go to sleep. And you're that's not going to help anybody. The more you can take a deep breath, slow down, be regulated, the more it's going to support you in actually being present and enjoying this present moment, even when it's hard, and savoring it for what it is, but also in responding to them and supporting them. Our child does not need us to be flipping out and matching their energy. We're not meant to match their energy. We're meant to bring the energy, to bring the regulation so they can then match us. Because the truth of the matter is, they're going to match our energy. They're going to feel, if you're flustered and stressed and freaking out and angry, they're going to feel that. And they're going to not only feel that energy and get more nervous themselves, but they're going to match that. They're going to match whatever you're doing. So we have to come at this at the most regulated that we possibly can be. And there's obviously so much that goes into it. There's like deep work that needs to be done depending on your past, what has happened to you from like a trauma standpoint. Like I'm obviously not an expert at all. I'm not anything in that sense. So obviously that's things that need to be worked on. If you do have any traumas in your past, so like most people have at least some, that needs to be worked out. And whether that's with a therapist, with breath work, with whatever, like psychedelic measures, like there's a lot of talk about that helping it as well. But anyway, there's so many things that you can do to help get to the root of that and let that come out and process it. Because if we continuously are suppressing our emotions over and over and over and over, whether they're emotions that are happening in real time, whether they're emotions that have happened in the past, we are not dealing with them and they're not being released out of our body, which is why when one thing happens, we're going to just combust because we can't handle all the things that we're currently pushing down. It's like you're constantly it's like a garbage can, right? It's like, eventually you can't push the garbage down in the garbage can anymore, right? You're like, I just don't want to take this freaking garbage out because it's annoying. It's a pain in the ass. I'm just going to keep pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down and fitting more and more and more and more in there. Eventually it's going to overflow. Eventually you're not going to be able to put that lid on. Eventually you're going to have to take the trash out. Otherwise it's going to be overflowing. It's going to be all over the kitchen floor. Same thing with your emotions. Is you could just keep pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing down, but eventually you're going to explode. Eventually it's going to come bubbling out. Eventually that's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect how you show up in the world. It's going to affect how you feel day in, day out, physical, mentally, emotionally. So we have to deal with this stuff. And the number one thing that obviously there's so much that goes into it. I have a whole program, by the way, on supporting your nervous system. I'll put that information in the show notes. Obviously I can't go into all of that in here because we'll just be here all day, but the number one thing, really number one and two, because it's two different things. And a lot of people will just push this aside. We'll be like, no, it doesn't work for me. I'm not the type of person that could do that. I've tried it before, blah, 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 all these excuses, but you're not most people. So I know that you're going to take this to heart and you are going to do something with it. The number one and two things that you can do to help regulate your nervous system is meditation and breath work, period. Like, I cannot stress enough how much that supports your nervous system. Literally just before I hopped on here, I was like, I was feeling frantic, but I was like, oh, I have to get this episode done. I got to upload it. I want to do something on my Instagram stories for a second. So I'm talking about a new program that I have going on right now, Activate Your Fertility. And I have to leave to go. I have to get the baby. She's with my husband right now. Like in the living room, but I'm going to pick up my parents from the airport and I have like 20 minutes to do all of this. Right. So I'm like, okay, but I don't want to enter this episode, especially talking about our nervous system, with frantic energy, because the thing is, we think that we don't have time to meditate. I literally just had this conversation with myself. I'm like, I don't have time to do a meditation right now. I have to do X, Y, and Z in this short amount of time. I don't have time. But the thing is, those 5 minutes that I just took to regulate my nervous system, to breathe, expanded my capacity, expanded my time in general, because when you're frantic and trying to do things, you mess up, you got to go back, you have to fix things, or you're just like, your brain can't process quickly because you're so all over the place. And when you just take 5 minutes to regulate yourself, you're actually able to come at everything more grounded energy and be able to do things more efficiently because you took that second for yourself. So if you're saying like, I just don't have time, then you need this more than ever, which whenever I catch myself being like, I don't have time to meditate, which honestly is a real thing sometimes. Like, especially if you're a mom, that is a real thing. Like sometimes in the morning, I literally don't have time to just meditate because I have to do whatever with her, but I can always find a pocket of time during the day. The other morning, I literally did it while I was going to the bathroom. Okay. I put on a 5-minute meditation and I did it while I was going to the bathroom. So it's like, we all have these pockets of time. We just have to find them. And it can be just 5 minutes. Obviously, if you could do more than that, do more than that. And to really get down to like the root of stuff and bring those emotions up, bring whatever you've been shoving down up, I really recommend breath work. I did it quite a bit before pregnancy. Obviously, I do not recommend doing breath work while you're pregnant. It's not safe to do like extreme breath work. Obviously, like little breathing obviously is amazing, but like extreme breath works where you're really going deep, you're doing like some intense breathing patterns. I don't recommend doing that while pregnant, but I really do recommend looking into that. I'm going to link below one of my friends. I'm actually going to have her on the podcast soon. I have to talk to her about this, but Jordan Nolan, she is a certified breathwork practitioner. She actually came into this program just talking about nourish your nervous system. It's now evergreen. Like you could just hop in and get access to it, but I ran it live last year and she came in and she did a breathwork session with us. And I've done it personally, like a one-on-one session with her. She's amazing. She does virtual stuff. I really do recommend though, doing it in person if you can. It is just more impactful, but if that's just like not possible, depending on where you live and you want something virtual, I'll put her information below. But anyway, regulating your nervous system, number one thing you could do. How can you do that? Meditation and breath work. That's number one. And again, what can you do? Can you just find 5 minutes? Can you find 5 minutes? Can you prioritize that? And watch how that changes your life by just breathing for 5 minutes. Okay. So that's number one. The second thing, or that's really number one and two, whatever. So the third thing is slowing the F down. Like, can you just slow down? Are you rushing through your meals? Are you flying out the door somewhere because you're running late? Story of my life. Are all of your workouts fast paced? Are you being busy as an escape because you don't want to slow down because you're afraid of what's going to come up? Because that's a real thing. And even when you do have a lot going on, because the reality is, especially again, when you're a mom, you have a lot of things that you need to get done, right? There's not just time to like, oh, like I used to just be like, oh, like lollygagging around, doing things slowly, whatever. Like you have to do things quickly and you have to get them done quickly. You have a short amount of time. If they're napping, okay, how much can I get done during this nap, right? If they're actually napping at all, or how much can I get done? How long are they going to stay occupied on this love every map right now? So it's not about like just like doing things slowly. When I mean slowing down, it's like if you have to do things quickly and get things done, can you be regulated when you do that? Can you be grounded when you are moving quickly and getting things done quickly? Can you feel grounded in your actions while you're doing that? Can you take deep breaths as you're doing that? Can you listen to meditation music as you're doing that? It's just like really, we set the tone, we set the energy, we come at it. You can either choose to be overwhelmed or you could choose to be grounded. Instead of saying overwhelmed, can you say, my life is just really full right now. I'm feeling full and full of all amazing things. That small shift from overwhelmed to full is going to change the game for you. And just going into it's like, okay, I got to get this done fast, but can I be grounded during it? Can I take deep breaths while I do it? Can I take 5 minutes to meditate before I have to do all of this? Like really asking yourself how you can do those things and looking at like, your workouts and all that stuff as well. But what I want you to take away from this is number one, can you fit in 5 minutes of meditation daily? Whenever and wherever you can fit it in, 5 minutes of meditation. And I really I'm not talking about walking meditations with this. I do think that that's important. That'll be my second tip, but I really mean stillness, 5 minutes of still meditation a day. The next thing is adding just more walking in your day as a form of movement, and being in silence for part of it, right? Like not having a podcast, not having music, just like listening to the birds or whatever for part of your walk. Can you add more walking into your life? Because that being in nature and just slowing down with a walk is going to help reduce your cortisol levels and really help regulate you. And then the last thing, like we just talked about, when you are doing things quickly and you have to get a lot done, can you shift from overwhelmed to I feel so full right now? And can you take a deep breath or just deep breaths in general as you do it? Okay. So, like I said, this could be a 2 hour long podcast talking about regulating your nervous system, but I really want you to check in with like, what can I take away from this? Where can I slow down? Where can I regulate myself more? What can I do? Is it going to therapy? Is it going to breath work? Is it just adding in more meditation, just slowing down my workouts, is it adding in a walk? Like, what is it for you? Because the more you regulate yourself, the more that you're going to be supported in postpartum, like so freaking much. And just in life in general, whether you're postpartum or not, it's going to support you. But this has just been really popping up as from being a mom. I'm like, damn, is this helpful? Okay. So I love you so much. Please let me know how this episode landed with you. If you know someone who can benefit from this, please send it to them. You are the reason why this episode is spreading, and it really helps get out to other people when you write a review, when you share it on your Instagram stories. Like, I so appreciate you doing that. I am obsessed with this community. It is the freaking best. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.